And today, I want to share with you what we as Blue Elephant Solutions think are really the keys to a patient-oriented mindset and behavior in hospitals and clinics. And that's what this talk will be about. So the question you asking yourself, or you should ask yourself, is how can I build a patient-oriented mindset and behavior? Why is that important? Because we shared in the introduction of this invite, there is studies out there from Deloitte that show if there is a very high net promoter score for clinics, and you compare those clinics with clinics where the net promoter score is very low, you see that they have a net profit margin that is 150 times higher. So it's not that it adds cost, but it really helps you to be more profitable in your organization. And why is that? Because patients are becoming your customers. They're becoming your guests in your facilities. And they expect premium services, and then they are willing to pay premium prices. And this is where you really want to go. So to make this talk extremely short, I will give you the answer. How can I build a patient-oriented mindset and behavior? The answer is very simple. You train your staff. And I'm very sure you already do that. You probably have classrooms training in place. You have web-based trainings in place. You have coaching in place. And all of this really helps. And now that we know how to achieve a patient-oriented mindset, we can actually open up for questions. So if there's any, oh, what's happening? Oh, that's not everything. There's some problems. There's actually some problems in if we just deliver normal training. There's something called the forgetting curve. And that forgetting curve tells us that if we don't repeat and if we don't apply what we have learned in those trainings, in those training sessions, we forget 50% after one day. There's even studies that say after 1 hour, I believe more after 1 day. And 90% of what you have perceived in this training is forgotten after 1 month. That means you as managers, you as leaders of this hospital, you invest money, you invest time into training of your staff. And all of this investment, only 10% of this investment is left after 1 month. What kind of return on investment is that? Only 10% that you have still after a month. That's terrible. And that is in addition to not achieving what you actually want to achieve with this, which is the better patient experience, the better net promoter scores, the impact on your net margin. So you're missing that out as well. There's opportunity costs in there as well. The second big problem is habits. It takes an average 66 days to form a habit. That can range widely from, some say 20 days up to 250 days. That's what the science is telling us. And normally the bad habits are easier to adopt to, like eating chocolate for breakfast and this kind of stuff. But really changing habits that we have been practicing for a very long time already, that your staff might have been used to in the past on how to treat patients as patients. And you just get them through the system, but you don't really pay much attention. To change those habits will take time. So if you take something from this presentation, focus on creating and improving the memory of the employees, stop the forgetting, and help to create habits. And you can do that in your organization. You don't even need us. This is the tools you need for that. Let me quickly introduce you to what memory is and how you can use memory to focus and strengthen patient experience. Memory consists mainly, there's a lot of different structures, but mainly out of 3 areas. Encoding, which is how you perceive the information and put it into your head. The storage, what is happening in your head, and the retrieval phase of this information, when you need to have it and when you need to have it ready. In encoding, there's sometimes 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 main types of how you can perceive information. One is visual. You save a picture of something that you saw. Then you have acoustic, that's why I'm talking to this presentation, because you will hear me, what I say, you will hear when I emphasize on certain words, you will see that together with my visual emphasis on certain things I say. So all of this will help you to memorize and to get information into your head. Semantic means You try to understand the meaning. That's often when you like look at text elements, or you try to understand a concept or an idea. There's not really a picture that you have for that. It's also not a sound. And then tactile, which is like feelings. So you taste something, or you smell something, or the feel of cuddling somebody. You know, that's tactile. And what you want to do is, when you do trainings, and again, this is something you can do already in your organizations, you want to try to make all of them as big as possible. So I don't know how many really remember of the last slide that Ahmed was showing. He had a word presented there. You try to understand what it is, but if you try to make this word visual, if you try to visualize this cat sitting in the honey pot, you know, it's a very sweet cat in the honey pot, then all of a sudden that picture you will remember far over the end of this call, whereby just looking at the letters might not give you the best learning experience. So try to make this, you know, I read the word, I say sweet cat, and then I even ask you to imagine the honey where the cat is sitting and how that feels in your mouth. So now I'm also trying to get your tactile memory involved in that. And all of this will help to really make this learning stick more with the employees. When it comes to storage, all of you know that you have a short-term memory, normally lasts 15 to 30 seconds, and you can remember roughly 7 items. What you need to do is you need to move this important information into your long-term memory. How does your brain know that it's important? Well, you need to repeat it. It needs to be shown up again, and your memory will understand, oh, that is an important information. And that storage is unlimited and indefinitely. The trick is, how do you get it out there? And that's the last phase. That's the retrieval phase. And that is where frequent testing comes into place. Frequent testing means, in this case, you want to have regular recalls if you still memorize it correctly. So you want to double check what I have remembered. Is that still correct? Because our memory likes to play tricks on us and adds information and takes information away and turns information around. So we really want to check on a regular basis and do these recalls. The second strategy that you can implement to improve your trainings is spacing. That means if you only hear things once, it's very hard to remember them. If I would repeat the same information over and over again during this call, which I will do, which is this main areas, memory and habits, you will start memorizing that better. But what you actually want to achieve, you want to extend this repetitions over a period of time. You don't want to do it everything in 1 hour. You want to maybe repeat it after a few days again, and then after a few weeks, and then after a few months. And that really helps you to retrieve the information way better and way faster. And the last part that you can do is called interleaving. This means in real life, you will not need all the information from a 1 hour training session exactly in the same order, exactly in the same time. You might need, you know, there's a customer, a patient coming into your clinic, he wants to register, so you need to have this information available. Then shortly after, you receive an email with some phishing attempts, you know, somebody trying to hack your hospital. So your staff needs to get this information out there. How do I recognize this? So the retrieval normally happens not in a structured way, but interleaved. And this is what you also want to do with when you do your spaced repetitions. You don't want to do 1 hour training repeats after and after again, but you want to do all of this with very small learning chunks and information chunks, and mixing the topics. That's really the key. That's the memory part. The other part you can work on is habits. So how do habits work? Habits normally have a structure of, actually I'm going to present the whole cycle here. It's very simple. There's always a cue that is a trigger that triggers a certain behavior. Then there's the response of the individual, and then there's the reward. And if there's no reward, you most likely will not continue this cycle of self-enforcing habits. But if there's a reward for your behavior, then you will continue. You will look out for the cue, you will act accordingly, you will hopefully get rewarded again, and you continue this circle. All of you do that on a daily basis. When you have your smartphone in your hand and there's a pop-up message showing up that there's a new SMS arrived or a new WhatsApp or whatever nowadays it's used. That's a visual cue. And it's not only a visual cue, there's also this bing bing of your phone. So there's also an auditive cue. In addition to that, also the developers of iPhone and Android, they make the phone vibrate. So there's your next cue, right? So there's a tactile information. And you even can read part of the message. So they even try to get your semantics cues going. You see, they touch on all those elements just by something simple like this, this pop-up message. And now they make the response for you extremely simple. Just click on the message opens up, and you get the reward. You get the information, you get the feedback that you were looking for. You have a friend asking you how you're doing. So now you're satisfied. And that is the neurological loop that is happening here over and over again, and that strengthens habits and really form habits. Those habits, by the way, and you're all probably managers not only in charge for patient experience in terms of training your staff, but this circle of habits you can also apply to your patients. You want to build a habit for your patients to come back to your hospital. So what is the cue? In the beginning, the cue might be they feel a little bit sick, they don't feel well, they want to go and have a checkup. What is their response? They probably search in the internet, and they might come up with going to your hospital. They come to your hospital, they have a very positive experience all of a sudden because your patient experience is excellent. So what happens next? The next time he has this cue, so well, I got rewarded for my behavior going to this hospital. I'm going to do that again, right? I don't need to search the internet. And all of a sudden, you start to build those behaviors of your patients as well. So when we look at patient experience, we also look at those kind of behaviors that we can form with our patients. Extremely powerful for you. To summarize that, your key to success is have a proper training to build the knowledge and the skills of your employees. But then don't miss out on the middle part, which is the repetition and the forming of habits. If you don't have that, you will have a really hard time to achieve actions that then also lead to results in your organization. And that's your ultimate goal, right? What does that look like? So in your learning management systems, in your existing trainings, whatever you use, you build up knowledge over time. And this is the forgetting curve that kicks in after 1 day, 50% is gone. After 1 month, 90% is gone. And the impact that you achieve is almost zero, right? It's really hard to change the behavior. What you want to do is you want to put measures, structures, tools into place to repeat this information, repeat the skills, practice the skills. You can do that with coaching sessions. You don't need IT tools for it. You can have coachings for your staff. You can send out reminder emails that just remind on the things that is important for your organization. Make it bit-sized, means micro scenarios. Micro scenarios because we want to make it relevant. We want to identify the cue and want to help people to say, look, if this cue happens, what's your reaction to this cue? And then we want to gamify it and try to address most of the elements on how information will be stored in the system. And that is how you achieve a patient-oriented mindset and behavior in your organization. I want to give you 2 quick examples. Ahmed mentioned it earlier. We're working together on this. I'm more from an IT provider perspective, and Ahmed more from a content perspective. We have a tool which is called Knowledge Empire, and here you see a screenshot and what that could be used for in your hospital situation. So there's a cue. On the left-hand side, you see there's a picture, a situation. You can actually also have a video in there, and then a description of a situation. I'm about to enter a patient's room for the daily consultation. I will. What is the best behavior that I should apply here? Here in this case, we selected the ones already, knock on the door, and also greet the patient friendly and actively listening to the patient. So that is the response, the behavior that we want to trigger. Now, if you respond to that, there's a debriefing screen, which will instantly reward you. Just thumbs up is already a reward. In addition, you collect points, and you can use these points later on to redeem small presents or rewards in your organization. So this is how you can really get your staff engaged in building up good habits and also remembering the things that you teach them during your trainings. Another example for that is example number 2. Same concept, it's just a different look and feel. So you have a situation, patient situation, and the question here is, when I'm examining a patient, I should remember to. And then at the bottom, you see the possible responses that you should do. I might mention it earlier, smile is super important. So this is probably the correct answer. And then you get rewarded, you get the information right. Everything was correct, you earn your points, and you're happy. Or you have an AI algorithm embedded in both of those solutions that identifies for each of your learners when is the optimal time to repeat certain knowledge chunks. And knowledge chunk is really everything you see on the screen is one knowledge chunk. That's it. There's not a half an hour training. You can do it in a few seconds on your mobile phone. And when is the ideal time to repeat this information, to form a habit, but to also counter the forgetting curve? Why is that important? Because you want to have an effective training, but you also don't want to spend every day repeating the content. That's effective, but not efficient. So the AI algorithm is trying to optimize the effectiveness and the efficiency. And summarizing everything here, the key takeaways for you, be aware of this problem that you have. If you just have a normal training in place, you might have a huge gap in your investment. You lose 90% of your investment almost after 1 month in training, the training investment. You don't achieve the outcome that you want, and you need to have 66 days in average for patient-oriented habits to form. The countermeasures that I explained to you today is build a winning system of spaced repetition and interleaving, micro learnings. And also look at the habits. Try to identify very strong cues, for example, a patient entering the door, or whatever it might be. The response that you expect from your staff, and also put rewards into place to really reward your employees for the right behavior. And this is how we can build patient-oriented mindset and behavior. My name is Christian Borchert. I work for Blue Elephant Solutions. We do consulting on digitalization. We do software solutions, and we also build this knowledge solutions. And if you take a photo here of this QR code, you will come to our website. We're always open for you for any questions that you might have, and happy to help. Thank you very much.